Hello, everyone. This is Criminal Pat. This is an incoherent human being. This is Criminal Profiler Pat Brown coming to you from Hawaii. Oh my gosh, it's a good way to start a show. This will be Patron Hangout number 233. I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat room. I hope you can hear me and hear my lovely bubbles as well. So, um, I'm looking at what case. Yeah, yeah, I shouldn't say that. That actually was um, that actually was said on. I think it was what was I on? Um, one of the television shows, and the host of the show, she said goodbye by saying, "Well, thank you for being here, criminal Pat Brown." and I was laughing so hard then, and I had to come back and do a next segment, and it was funny. Anyway, somebody wrote in the comments below on that one. Well, she is one. So you can see and hear me even speaking nonsense. All right. So, oh, the night shift. Oh, I've always done night shifts. So I like night, but I'm a late night person. So hi, Lisa. Glad of you to roll in and. Welcome everybody who's in the chat room again. And if you want to be in the chat room with these lovely people and come to the live shows, please do click on the link below for Patreon. It's $5 a month. There are 2 live shows a week. This hangout during the week, and on the weekend, there's always a case show, which is for the most part patron only live shows. And once the live show is done, I do make them public. So if you don't want to fork out $5 a month or come to live shows, do subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification thing, and hopefully you get notified of the new shows coming up. And I want everybody to be able to learn and get an education about profiling and crime analysis. So nothing's hidden on this show. This is, I don't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, back to, I actually was here the other day. This is a beautiful place. It's, I got to look up the name of it again because I keep forgetting what it is. It is, where is it on my map? It's Kiona Beach Park. It's a real pretty place. It's got low waves, so children can go swimming there. And it's on the windward side between Waimanalo and Sea Life Park, if you happen to know anything about Hawaii. If you don't, you have no clue what I'm talking about. But it's a beautiful little place, and a couple other pictures I'll show you from the area, just so you can be jealous and that I'm here. And I'm only going to be here for 2 more weeks, so I'm going to be very sad pretty soon. So anyway, this is another view, and that island over there is called Manana Island. It's also known as Rabbit Island. Isn't that cool? And it doesn't have any rabbits on it any longer, and it's just the natural wildlife of Hawaii. But I just read this really weird story about another rabbit island in Japan. And this guy just got arrested for kicking rabbits. So he's a rabbit kicker. And they caught him. And nearby where they caught him, they found carcasses of rabbits. And they found 77 rabbit carcasses. So I guess the guy's a serial rabbit kicker. What the heck? Shows you that people who are psychopathic and have this internal rage will find one way or the other to express it. So this guy's a serial rabbit kicker. Go figure. That's a new one on me. I haven't heard that version in my life. So isn't it pretty? Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful, Hawaii is one of these places. I'm on Oahu, and I take the bus all over. And yesterday I took a bus. It took me an hour to get to where I was going, to the state park. And then I took another long 50-minute bus ride. I actually went to Waimanalo I went to buy this because they didn't have it last time I was there, and I really wanted it. And so this is actually an Asian version of nachos, and it has crunchy things underneath, which are not tortilla chips. And then it has poke. This is tuna poke, which is raw tuna. 2 different versions of it. And it's delicious, absolutely delicious. So, but I'm riding all over the place on this bus, and every time I get on the bus, I just stare out the window and think, I don't care if I'm on this bus for another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I just don't care, because every place the bus turns, it's a beautiful a beautiful sight, whether it be the mountains or the ocean or beaches or just even downtown Honolulu. A lot of people don't say, oh, it's just, it's a, built up too many high rises, which is true. And but there is a very green city, so there's tons of green areas and beautiful trees, and I can just look out the window all day here. And so, yeah, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I'm going to be really depressed. So Petra, the hangout 2 weeks from now, no, 3 weeks from now, going to have a sad face on. So I wonder about relocating there. Real estate is likely I think very high. Yes, ridiculously high for trying to buy. I hope you're rich. $1.5 million for a house is not unusual. I would like to relocate here, but I would never buy because I can't possibly afford it. So I would have to rent. Rent is also not the cheapest, although there are some places where you can rent for cheaper, but not exactly the best places. And it is, if you're going to think of relocating here, I don't know if you spent time here, but I never recommend anybody relocate to someplace that they haven't spent 6 months in, because you may find this is not your kind of place. Some people get island fever. Some people don't get along with the culture. Some people, whatever reasons, they got issues. And that's true no matter where you go. I've been here 3 months and I have no problem living here. I really want to stay. I do. But next time I come back, maybe it'll be for 6 months, and then I'll decide whether 6 months is enough, because I do like living here better than Maryland. So there you go. So assaulting a rabbit is low-ball cruelty. You think? Yeah, I mean, they're very easy because I guess they're very tame rabbits on this Japanese island, and people feed them and stuff. So, I mean, they just hop up to you. I guess it's like a football for them. Yeah. So that one guy, pretty sick. But I would just say this. Yeah, there's a difference between being a native to Hawaii, being a Kamaina, having lived here a long time, but a lot of it is attitude. I've never had a problem here. I find myself very comfortable here. I've never had an issue, but that's me. I've lived I spent so much time in different cultures. I think maybe that has an effect. Maybe people see that. I don't know. As I say, the important thing about being in Hawaii is to be humble, be accepting, be humble, and don't be too howly, which means too white. Anyway, tried to open a business and wasn't allowed. I can't comment on things like that because there's so many issues. No matter where you move, there's issues, and what the reasons are, depending on, there are a lot of people who do move here, start businesses, but it all depends. It all depends. I could live here permanently, sure. It's an expensive place to live, and I do have my house back home, and I do have my granddaughter and my 3 kids are all in the same area. So it's one of those things. It's, that's why I did 3 months this year, to see how it would go, and I'll see how I feel when I get back. So I'm going to decide whether I'm going to be a snowbird or a half a year bird, or one day just not go back to Maryland. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's very expensive. So, yeah, but I think everybody, no matter where you go, you should spend, if you're going to move there, I think you should be at least there 6 months before you make up your mind on that. Because I just think, even if it's sometimes just another, like, my ex is moving from California to Florida, and he's looked around the area and he's decided to buy in Fort Lauderdale. And he's going to spend 6 months of the year there and 6 months in Vietnam with his wife. But my son very wisely said, his dad should just rent for a while and see whether he likes that area. But he's just going to buy it, and he's going to move, and then he's going to find out whether he likes that area. But I always think it's wise to spend enough time to find out whether, when the honeymoon's over, are you happy there? And so you need enough time to figure that stuff out. That is crazy expensive. That's true. So buying a place here is tough. So anyway, let me go on with, let's see, couple things I just want to say. I'm reading this book now. I just got it from the library. This is Paradise, written by a Hawaiian author. And it's interesting to read a book once you've been to some place, because this talks about a lot of the cultural stuff that goes on here and places now I know and I recognize. It's a very interesting thing to do. And the reason I bring this up is the importance of criminal profiling and analysis in general is if you do not understand where the crime happened, the culture around the crime, and that could be a subculture. It could be, let's say you're in the U.S. There's a lot of subcultures in the U.S. in different states and different places in the states. Like I live in Maryland. I live in Prince George's County, PG County, as we call it, who live there. PG County. And PG County is a subculture all of its own. And so we're not the same in PG County as is Montgomery County or is just cross the line to Virginia, different. And depending on the long-term culture there, or sometimes people moving there, changing the culture, you have to look at that when you're looking at any kind of case and say, what could be happening in that area that would affect this case? Or maybe who the murder victim is, that can affect the case. Not just a person. They could be a person from a particular culture or subculture, a particular lifestyle. And all of that affects maybe who killed that person and what the motive might be. And unfortunately, what happens with police departments is you hire people to be police officers and they become detectives. They don't necessarily have a lot of this, any kind of training in subcultures or specific cultures. So what you have to do, as a profiler myself, what you have to do is, if you're going to analyze a case and you don't know that culture or subculture, you better go talk to the people. You better go talk to people in the neighborhood or from that culture and say, what can you tell me? And they will tell you. Sometimes no, I'm against all this crap we see going on these days with the Guthrie case and people deciding the Noah Donahoe case over in Ireland, where people who do not have training decide that they're going to solve the case. And so they just become obnoxious beyond belief. But I'm not talking about going to the general public. I'm talking about sometimes just going to the neighborhood, going to the relatives, asking, what can you tell me? I've done that in cases. I've walked into neighborhoods and gone, okay, I'm not from this neighborhood. And this person I'm checking out, I want to know something about the neighborhood. And what do you think about this guy? And I've gotten great help from the people that are very local. So trying to find out something about subcultures, like if you have, let's say, an Indian American, how do they live, and how does that have an importance on certain cases? Or for Hispanic culture, and within Hispanic cultures, many different kinds of Hispanic cultures. So, and then you could just go down to people who do certain things, artists, motorcycle guys, whatever. That's a whole subculture. And if you don't know anything about it, like I don't ride motorcycles, I don't go to motorcycle bars, I don't know. So I walk into those places and I say, hey, help me out here. Help me understand this so I can better analyze this case. So it's always important to understand a culture if you're going to, live in it or analyze it. So, didn't catch the name of the book. This is Paradise. And I'm going to try, Christina, okay, I got to try to pronounce her last name. I can't read it. Christina Kawila, I think. I bought it for 99 for a buck at the library, so I got lucky on it. And I have a case for you to solve before I get on to the news of the day, and some really interesting cases. I also bought this at the library because I remember reading Nancy Drew and Dana Girls and Hardy Boys, because I liked that when I was a kid. But this was the book, The Clue of the Dancing Puppet, which I can't remember, from half a century ago, and more than half a century ago, because I was probably about 10, 11. But there's a mystery in here, and I want to see if you can solve it. So I opened the book, and it says here, see what you can read? 1962, and that's crossed out. And then 2015, and the original girl's name, I guess who owned the book, put this sticker in there, was Nancy Morrow, and the new owner, I think that's Mia, she crossed out Nancy's name and put her name. Okay, what can you tell me about what happened here? What's the mystery here? Anybody? Oh, oh, thank you very much. This is I actually bought a wine outfit. So um, okay. What would be your first question about this mystery here? Anybody got it? Make it closer. What questions would you ask? Nobody's jumping in here. Gave okay. Are they related? Don't see any evidence of that. Gave the book to a grandchild. That would be kind of cool. Okay, where has the book been? Oh, I like this one. Where has the book been all that time? That's an interesting question. Okay. She hijacked the book. School book. I don't know. Could be a library sale. I did get this at a library sale myself. I can now cross this out and put Pat Brown on. But the first thing that occurred to me, okay, so there's somebody else did own this book before. And that's very common that somebody owns it and then you put a new sticker on it or you add your name to the list. And that's kind of cool because you see it go through a process. But yeah, it was donated library sale. What's the problem with what was a smiley face popular in 1962? Oh, very good, Lisa. Well, I don't know, but let's take a look at this 1962 book. What might you notice? Oh, well, Caroline Keene was the original writer name, but it may just be that after the books got going, they just used it. It's a good shape. Very good, Dee Dee. Good shape. Awfully good shape. So, what's the first thing you want to find out about this book? Originated in the 1960s. TR says, originated in 1960s when graphic designer Harvey Ross Ball created it for the State Mutual Life Insurance Company. Interesting. Was the author alive in 1962? Well, yeah, the books were generally, I forgot when they first came out, but I read them. Yeah, I read them in the 60s. So, yeah. But what's the first thing you would do to verify that thing about 1962? Think about it. What's the first thing you do? Ha, there you go. Well, copyright, not necessarily. Not necessarily the copyright. So celebrate 60 years with the world's best detective. 60 years with the world. There you go. Mincy got it. Yeah. Publishing date. Right. The date it was published. Carol's got it here now. Everybody's got it right now. Okay. Look at the publishing date. Okay. The publishing date was 1990. Copyright 1990, 1962 by Simon and Schuster. Okay. This was not printed in 1962. So I believe it was probably came 1990s. Seems more likely. So who wrote the 1962 in here? Was it the original owner here, which was probably the owner in 1990, or was it Mia who looked and saw that it came out originally in 1962, put 1962, scratched it out, and put the date that she got a hold of it was 2015. So, but to see these little things here are information that, when you start looking at a case, you say, what here doesn't make sense? What didn't make sense to me was that this was an awfully, it's the same handwriting. Yeah. Yeah. It'll also look like the same handwriting, same pen. Yeah. So, but it was just a funny thing when I saw 1962. I said, well, this is a 1962 book. I mean, we're talking 100 years. Wait a minute. Wait, I can't count. 60 years old. I did not look like a 60-year-old book to me. And it wasn't. So these are the kind of things when you're doing any kind of case. Yes, the case of the mysterious book. Okay, sorry. Now I'm sweating like a dog. I put the air conditioner on here to try to cool this place down. Didn't work so well. All right, let's get on to the news. Of course, I'm going to start out with the most annoying news, just so I can get it over with quickly, because people ask me. Oh, by the way, the cat is fine. He came in last night and ate. My feral cat rolled in, got his food, laid down. He only stayed like an hour this time, but he was in his little bed, so he's good. So he's got 2.5 weeks before I show back up, and we'll see. Then you should ask, what happened, Pat? Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going to happen when I return. Is he going to be happy or unhappy I showed up? Anyway, let's go to the Guthrie thing, because here we go with the nonsense. So anyway, so it's come out, and it says gloves found in Nancy Guthrie case traced to a nearby restaurant worker, and the sheriff explains what this means. So he said they found this glove 2 miles from her Tucson home, looks similar to the one the masked man was wearing on the surveillance footage. They tested it for DNA, hoping it would lead to clues. And the sheriff, Nanos, I don't think how to pronounce his name because I don't watch news shows. Anyway, they were able to find a match to the DNA. There was some talk and discussion that it was police officers out in the field just discarding the glove is so far from the truth. We knew at that time, we believed wholeheartedly that these gloves belonged to a restaurant. And guess what? The owner of the glove we found working at the restaurant across the street. It has nothing to do with the case. And he's not going to give the name of this poor fellow, because everybody's going to say, well, just because he worked at the restaurant doesn't mean he didn't kill Nancy Guthrie. Okay. I'm sure they looked into the guy. They probably did, whatever. But people are never satisfied because they know better, right? So, and then some stupid idiot keeps writing. I've seen people write this stuff. Oh, I don't know why that sheriff, she shouldn't be allowed to talk. Only the FBI should be allowed to talk. Folks, it's not the FBI's case. It is the sheriff's department's case. He has every right to talk about the case. It's his department's case. If they brought the FBI in to help, the FBI is there as support, not taking over the case. So he has every right to talk. Do I think he may be the best person to speak? He seems to be a little, I've often said sometimes a police chief or sheriffs just aren't the best people to do the public announcement type stuff. Just get somebody who does that as their job, who can do it very calmly, very, very just blandly. And that's that. Sometimes sheriff and the police chief just aren't the best at doing it. Some are very good at doing it, but sometimes they're just not. But that with all these speculations over each individual piece of information, that sets everybody off and says, oh, we should know more, or they should tell us more, or they're wrong, they're lying, they're covering up, all this nonsense. It's just repulsive. It is actually repulsive. You think I could videotape the reunion? I could try. Using my camera on that, but well, I'll see what I can do. I said the cat return. And here's some more stupid stuff. So the inquest of Noah Donahoe is continuing. I can't remember what week it's in now. Is it week 6 or something? And this is the one I said the inquest was unnecessary. It's going to be a big waste of money and time, because the inquest is really, people claim it's, and the mother of Noah claimed that it's just to find out, get answers. Well, the answers that they're claiming to want to know is like, why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? And that may be the only answers they get, because no police department's perfect. So they didn't do everything that now everybody looking back says, you should have done this, you should have done that. But that's not the real reason people want this inquest. They want this inquest to prove he was murdered, and it's a cover-up. That's the reason they want this inquest. And all the other stuff is just, for the most part, a pack of lies. So the inquest goes on, and the inquest is, the police believe that he was in psychosis, and he went into the storm drain, drowned, which is not an unusual thing for people in psychosis to go to small places. And that's what I believe happened. And because there's no other proof that anybody else was involved, there's no way this is going to turn out to be, suddenly they're going to say, oh, it proves it's a murder. So this is all a bunch of nonsense. It's a waste of money. And it's just being, in this case, people just pushing and pushing for 5 years now. We want this inquest because we think it's a big cover-up. And so no matter what comes up, somebody's going to keep pushing this crap. And here's one of the latest ones. So there's this thing that was sent. I don't know the validity of how true it is either. There's a pink version over there, which I assume is just a Photoshop kind of thing. I don't even know if the thing down on the right, written on the wall, is not just some AI bullshit. I don't know what is absolutely real on this, but I want to point out, when I look at that postcard on the left, let me read some of what it says. Michael Kill, trying to read it. Yes, Noah Donna Q, murdered 10th floor Mount Vernon Flats, drowned in bathtub by VVF Evid. Emma Adhane told me, protect her, Noah. And then there's some stuff that's and then on the side of this thing, you'll see it going up the side of the postcard, says something about a cover up. And then over on the other side, going up, says, I'm dead for telling Anders, something like that. Now, I look at that card. If that card was written by a real person, it wasn't some kind of fake, hoax thing, that person has schizophrenia. Why do I say that? Because I've received that exact kind of thing from people, where they when they get the paper, they write in scrawls, they write up sides, then put it in an envelope, and then they write on the envelope, in the back of the envelope, on the side. They write everybody. They can't stop. It's like it just spews out of them. The thoughts keep whirring, so they keep writing. Now, a psychopath, for example, a serial killer will write to me, and his writing is very nice. His writing is polished. It's grammatically decent. It's nicely written on the lines. There's nothing in the borders. There's nothing on the envelope, because they're not psychotic. But other ones, yeah, they come in like that. So if that came in and it was something that was sent to the police or somebody knew about, and it wasn't a fake or some kind of hoax thing or some kind of internet bullshit, the police probably looked at it and said, this person's got schizophrenia. Well, they might have checked out a few of those things just to see if there's any possibility of any truth. But here's what we see now on the internet. All right, so this is from Noah's Army. Wondering if this will be brought up at inquest. It is the most extremely important piece of simply bad news I need investigated. 11 months on, still waiting for the PSNI to even investigate this. Every eventuality should be eliminated. Well, that's because you don't understand how police investigations work, and because you want to stir the pot with every single piece of crap that comes down the pike, including your 500 psychics that might come in. And you might say, well, the psychic could be correct. Why aren't the police doing anything about it? Because they know it's garbage. Unless something really strikes them that this person's pretending to be a psychic, but they're really the killer or something like that. They do look through this stuff. And the reason that cases get bogged down like Nancy Guthrie is because the public will not stop with the nonsense. You are the reason, public, not you guys here, but you are the reason, Nancy Guthrie obsessives, you are the reason Noah Donahoe obsessives are causing cases not to be solved. Not only do you cause the case you're looking at to be possibly not solved because you are interfering so much and throwing so much information and encouraging so much garbage to come at the police force, but you take all their time away from all those other cases of those little murdered children you don't care about, because they don't have time to solve those cases because they're so busy being overwhelmed by your nonsense. You really care about murder victims? Stop doing it. Okay, that's my soapbox for today, and now I'll go on to other things. Why in the world would somebody want to drown a young boy? Well, that's not necessarily. Sometimes they like drowning young boys. A serial killer will love drowning a young boy. There are cases where people are actually drowned, and they can be drowned in a bathtub and then transported someplace and dumped. This is not an impossibility. The point being that when Noah Donahoe left that house, first of all, he was having emotional issues, acting bizarrely. He claimed he was going someplace that he wasn't going. He throw his things away, ripped off his clothes. I mean, the child is acting totally psychotic. Obviously, something was wrong. His mother was worried that he was in psychosis. She said that when she called, she said something's wrong with him. Something's wrong with him going on with his mind. Now, a person who has something going on in their mind can become a victim in spite of that or because of that. So people who have mental problems often become victims because maybe they become homeless, maybe because they're wandering around the streets thinking things are going on that aren't going on, putting themselves in danger's way, putting themselves in areas where it isn't safe to be. A young boy running around in the middle of the night, out on his bicycle, and ripping off his clothes is not exactly a safe thing to do. So could he have been grabbed by somebody? Sure. I'm sure the police looked into that, but the problem is there was no evidence that anybody ever got near the kid. There was no physical evidence on his body that anybody assaulted him, restrained him, forcibly drowned him, drugged him, raped him. None of that exists. And you have a whole evidence of this kid going into psychosis, doing very bizarre things, and then he ends up in a place he can access, but most of the time you don't go in. So nobody put him there, and it's just nonsense. And the police figured that out pretty quickly, and they were ready to move on because that's what you do. You don't sit there and work on a case for the next 5 years for no reason because you have other cases. People seem to think what kind of manpower do you think you have? I don't know about Ireland, but I know here we have a problem with enough detectives, enough police officers, and when the police aren't being supported, then people don't want money to go to the police. Then they have even less. They only have so much time and energy and money and ability to do all this stuff. And if anybody knows certain areas, when you have a murder squad, homicide department, sometimes those cases come rolling in on top of each other. You're barely lucky if you can get a look at one case, much less the same week you get 2 or 3 more. It's insanity. And so people are just so unrealistic. And if you really, really care about victims, support the police, let them do their job. I'm not saying if there's something really untoward, there shouldn't be some kind of oversight. I've spoken against a couple of police departments for that exact thing, because no police department is perfect. You always got somebody squirrely can be rolling around, but this kind of nonsense is doing nothing to solve cases. So somebody will point out maybe, one case out of in 10 years. Oh my God, the fact that it went public and people were doing this, that solved the case. The majority of the time, it just messes the case up. It causes the case to go unsolved, and it causes police not to be able to solve other cases. So you really care about murder victims, stop the nonsense. Absolutely stop the nonsense. The thing about the mother is absolutely true. I mean, I don't blame the parent, the mother, as much as I blame people for jumping on the bandwagon because they want to feel important, because they want to prove that the police are wrong, because they hate the government or whatever the hell their issue is. The parents, I mean, I've had parents bring me into a case and I've told them their child died of suicide or accident, and they go online and they tear me up. They say terrible things about me, and they continue with their fight to prove their child was murdered, and which, I understand that what they're going through in the brain. But then when hundreds of people get online and start marching down the streets, that's what makes me sick, because you're dealing with a parent who's suffering, but you're perfectly willing, even though it doesn't matter what the police say, it doesn't matter what the profile says, you're perfectly willing to encourage that parent to believe their child was murdered and then make it about you fighting for the mother, fighting for the truth, fighting for justice, and all this garbage that's out there. Go do something useful, because you're not doing anything useful for the police in solving cases. All you're doing is harming the police investigation and harming all the other police investigations that they don't have time for now. Don't be proud of yourself. You shouldn't. Go skulk away someplace. Having an interest in a case, just wanting to know what happened. Just an interest is one thing. It's the excessive amount that I'm talking about. Not an educational interest and wanting to know what happened. That's reasonable. But what's going on these days with cases is completely unreasonable. So very, very frustrating. Now, let me get to a case. I want to talk about this case in Hawaii because this is bizarre, and I want to see what you think about this. This has just been solved. It was this young woman. It was the coldest case in Hawaii, I think it was. Okay. This is Nancy Anderson, and this is the guy who has been charged with the murder, two-door Chirilla. Okay, fascinating DNA case, all done by Familial DNA. Unbelievable work. However, solved, half a decade later. But that's not the interesting thing about this case, in my opinion. She was murdered in 1972. All right. So what happened with this case, and there's a really good, I'll have to try to find it, YouTube video on this done by, I forgot which media outlet did it, but it was pretty good. But anyway, so in 1972, she was murdered in her Honolulu apartment. A DNA sleuth recently cracked the case. All right. So what happened here? She was 19 years old. She had moved to Honolulu because it was exciting, moved to Hawaii, and she was living in Waikiki, which personally I'm not fond of. But anyway, a lot of people go work in Waikiki, live in Waikiki, especially tourists. They love Waikiki. So she would like to walk on the beach, that was her routine when she moved by herself from Colorado to Hawaii in the fall of 1971. A recent high school graduate, she thought moving to a new place would help her figure out what she wanted to do with her life. She was trying to find herself, said one of her 9 siblings. She knew Hawaii was beautiful, and if you're going to anywhere, why not go to Hawaii? Well, perfectly reasonable. And people say, "Oh, she shouldn't have gone there alone." She's 19. I was in Hollywood when I was 19. I mean, people go places. My son, when he was 18 years old, went to. I sent him to Mexico to go to Spanish school down there, and so he was down there at 18 years old. He arrived on the plane. He went and found a bus. He got the bus to where he was going. He stayed there. He could drink at 18 there, so he drank. He played pool, got a girlfriend. Didn't get killed by the cartels. No. Anyway, so she went to Hawaii. So on October 21st, 1971, she jetted off to the lush island of Oahu, which is where I am, stepping off the plane into her new life with a suitcase and money she'd saved from a job as a waitress and working in a donut shop. In Honolulu, she found an apartment on Aloha Drive to share with a roommate, got a job at McDonald's, and made a lot of new friends. Nancy, like the rest of her family, was raised to be trusting and kind. Well, also because, generally speaking, you're living someplace, you're making friends. What are you supposed to be doing? Most of us make friends, have a good time, grow up, grow older. You don't get murdered. And so on the afternoon of January 7th, 1972, her roommate, Jody Spooner, 18. This is where everything gets so freaking weird. And I might do a whole show on this, but right now I can't wrap my brain around some of this because it's really bizarre. It woke up from an afternoon nap to the sound of running water in Nancy's bathroom. When she entered her roommate's bedroom, she found Anderson dead on the floor. So I don't quite know who arrived first, or whether they were both there, and then Jody decided to take a little nap, and afternoon nap, and then she wakes up and she hears the water. She goes and says, "Hey," and she thought she had committed suicide because there was blood. She thought she'd slit her wrist or something. She didn't know her that well. They weren't like best buddies or anything. They were roommates. And initially, Spooner thought it was suicide, but police who arrived on the scene immediately suspected murder. Well, why, you ask? Because she had been stabbed 63 times, which is usually not what you do when you kill yourself. 63 times, and died from a knife wound to the heart. So they can't figure out what the heck happened. Now, let me read you a little bit more about what happened that day. Hold on. Okay. Detectives, so they were trying to figure out, they launched their investigation, first questioning Nancy's roommate, because after all, she was there, apparently, when it happened, and didn't hear her roommate like screaming bloody murder, 61 stab wounds. That's a lot. Now, I don't know, mind you, this is where I can't do a full show until if I can find out this info. She had 61 stab wounds. I don't know if the 60 of them came before the heart stab wound or the heart stab wound came first, and then it was just more like picarism. I don't know yet until I study this case. But she said she didn't hear anything. Well, if she was stabbed first in the heart, then she probably wouldn't hear anything. The water was running, which theoretically could cover up some. They did a little test, and they said, yeah, it was hard to hear anything with the water running. So she could have been in her room, which was not next door, but across away from, I think it was across the living room. And so she didn't hear what happened to her. Now, 2 hours before, I think it was about 2 hours before, I'm not going to be overly accurate on this because this is a hangout, but so a couple hours prior, there were two young cutlery salesmen who made a sales call at the apartment earlier that day. They were selling knives. They were selling kitchen knives. Supposedly she was stabbed with a paring knife, which they did not own. So 2 hours before she's killed, knife salesmen come and then supposedly leave, and then she's stabbed to death with a knife. That's just a fascinating thing. Yeah, unless you're Ellen Greenberg, then you can stab yourself 61 times with a knife. So anyway, they checked these guys out and they excluded them. Supposedly, they did not commit this crime. I find that interesting. Oh, you also think, thank goodness, the roommate didn't wake up. Now the question would be, did the person know the roommate was there? And why would you kill somebody when you know there's another person in the house? And if you're going to kill somebody and stab them 61 times, why not save a few stabs for the old roommate? You know what I mean? Because she would be a witness. In some way, she might remember somebody coming there, leaving there. She might have heard anything. I'm surprised she's alive. So a lot of people are like, well, was that roommate like in on it? I mean, not that she had any good reason to be, mind you, but it was pretty strange, But anyway, the knife salesman, supposedly it wasn't the knife salesman. So anyway, goes on years later, in 2000, 2001, Sampson, I believe, is the, a second. I'm just trying to find the information about the DNA. So they used these, 2019, it was reopened in 2019 when the victim's brother, Jack Anderson, reached out to a renowned forensic genealogist, C.C. Moore of Parabon Nanolabs in Virginia for help. Very, very highly respected lab. Using the state-of-the-art DNA analysis combined with traditional detective work, Moore and Honolulu police identified a long ago Honolulu neighbor of Anderson's, Tudor Chirilla. He was 77 at the time. He was arrested in 2021 when he was 79. All right. So who the heck is this guy, this Chirilla guy? Supposedly a neighbor, but not a neighbor in the building, just a neighbor in the neighborhood, supposedly. And let's see what else it says here. Who was this guy? So you're like, what does he have to do with her, the girl that gets killed? So she, using the DNA, apparently the killer had cut himself during the violent knifing and left blood on a towel, which was dumped on the stairs. And it matched a family tree. She narrowed her search to an individual who lived near Nancy in the early 1970s. Chirilla, a university teaching assistant. She wasn't going to college, so that's not where she would have known this guy if she knew him at all, who lived in Waikiki. Furthermore, Moore discovered through record search that Chirilla had gone on to have troubles with the law later on. Well, if he's into stabbing people 61 times, probably. He had once been arrested for kidnapping his girlfriend who was trying to break up with him. Mr. Psychopath, right? All right. So anyway, they tracked him down to Reno, Nevada, where he once served as a state deputy attorney general. Oh, my God. And they got DNA sample from him, and he was charged with her murder, extradited to Hawaii. But He refused to go into the hospital. He died in the hospital, refusing to drink or take medication and eat for 2 days, and he died. So, what? Who is this? I mean, we know who this guy is. He became a law student, became a district attorney. And then I don't know when the kidnapping of the girl came in, and I'm going to have to say, I'm going to go deeper into this case if I can find the info on it, because it's fascinating. But what the heck? How did he get in the apartment? Why did he decide to stab this one girl to death? Did they even know each other? Why does the roommate know nothing? Why wasn't it the knife salesman? It's like, what a crazy, bizarre case is that? Yeah, she's done some absolutely excellent work. Absolutely great. Yeah, this is very true. Can you imagine? I don't know when the criminal record occurs. So there's a lot of missing information here. I haven't been able to spend, oodles of time on, and I don't know how much of the information exists, but I'm curious about so many issues in this case. I saw the little the bit on YouTube, which was nicely done, but doesn't answer the questions that I have, which is, how would she have known him? Why would he have picked her? She's in an apartment building, and she's living there with a roommate. I mean, who goes in the middle of the day somehow gets into the apartment in the middle of the day, with two people living there, goes in there and stabs her to death. I mean, and then just leaves. What the heck? Did he know her? Was there something going on that, something else is happening? Just don't know. Have no clue. So, yeah, what a fascinating case. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more, but that was just crazy. Now, Christoph brought up something, and I want to mention this one. Now, remember the woman I did last week, the woman, U.S. woman who deserted her family, her husband, her children, supposedly out looking for Christmas presents, and then just disappeared. And they just found her 3 decades later, and she's like, I don't want any contact with them. So the family spent all this time thinking she had been murdered, and this huge police investigation. And when they finally find her, she goes, yeah, I don't want anything to do with them. No, I don't want to be reunited. Just leave me alone. What? So the level, in my opinion, of psychopathy there, to be able to desert your family because you weren't happy being a mother and a wife, without even leaving a message that just says, I'm not happy being a mother and a wife. Don't try to find me. Sorry, I'm doing this to you. I just can't handle it anymore. That would be one thing. But to just vanish, knowing that they're all suffering, and knowing that the police are spending all this time looking for your butt, you got to be a cold-hearted piece of crap in order to be able to sit there and not be bothered by it, or even worse, be amused by it. So this case is interesting because this woman had complaints about her life. She apparently wasn't happy with her husband, and maybe she just was fed up with those teenage kids. Who knows? She had maybe something that made her want to run away, at least. Now we have this case from Germany. Where's my picture? Hold on a second. Here she is. Is that her? Yeah. Her name is Petra. I can't pronounce it. Pazsitka. I don't know. But anyway, here she is as a young woman. That's when she disappeared, too. She was a young woman. So she disappeared in 1984. And guess what? They thought she was murdered. So let's happen. The 1984 disappearance triggered a massive police search when she was a student. And she was reported missing for failing to show up at her brother's birthday. Now, this is interesting to me. Hold on a second. It's hot as heck in here. And this thing is not exactly cool. Sorry. No Pepsi here. So, anyway, so she didn't show up for her brother's birthday. Now, I always find it interesting that the other woman didn't show up for Christmas, you see, because they often pick a time when everybody's going to say, but she would obviously be there for Christmas. She obviously would be at her brother's birthday. Therefore, something horrible must have happened to prevent her from being at that occasion. and it sets off a police investigation faster than a normal day of the week. So her brother's birthday, she doesn't show. Investigators sought help from a popular crime show, and the police said they were acting on the assumption of a murder crime. Um, a suspect in the rape and murder of a 14-year-old girl from the same area confessed to her murder, but a body was never found. Okay, so we got this. Some guy pops out and says, "Yeah, I killed it." And I always point out, you got to be very careful. Police should never close a case based on a confession that you cannot prove. This is absolutely true for serial killers. You got them on, let's say, six crimes, 6 murders, 6 sexual homicides, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I did 10 more." Okay, if he can't prove each one of those 10, you should not close those cases, because sometimes they just like to brag. They'll pick anything up and they'll say anything. Oh, they want to go on a little field trip. Hey, I'll show you where her body is. And then he gets a field trip, goes to McDonald's, has a good day, and he can't find the body. So I must have forgotten. And sometimes the police will close the case down based on a serial killer's confession without proper proof. It bugs me because, first of all, it's convenient for the police because that's one case they don't have to deal with anymore. The family is thankful that the case is closed now. So it's a win-win, except the real killer might still be out there. So to me, you have no business closing a case down unless you have absolute proof. Anyway, they closed this case in 1989. So that was officially closed. Okay, then it heated up 2 weeks ago. Okay, so this guy said, "I did it." So they closed the case. So they thought she was dead. The family thought she'd been murdered, right? But it heated up again 2 weeks ago when police in Western German city of Dusseldorf were called to reports of a burglary. The woman who reported the burglary, which is interesting that she did, for God's sakes, because she'd been spending so much time off the radar. She initially identified herself as Mrs. Schneider, but when asked for identification, confessed that she was Pazsitka, I can't pronounce the name, Pazsitka, according to Dusseldorf police spokesman. She is now 55 years old. She told police she had been living without any official documents under a false name in several German cities for the past 3 decades. She did not even have a bank account and paid all her bills in cash. She appeared to be making a small income through illicit work. I'm putting the quotes up here. Well, I'm going to guess some of the illicit work might be prostitution. I don't know her illicit work or drug dealing or whatever. So, according to the police, she did not elaborate on why she was living under a false name or why she disappeared in the first place, saying only that the woman had said family issues were not behind her disappearance. Their father passed away a few years ago, but her brother and mother are in shock and tears when they heard the news. However, she has stated she does not want contact with her family or the public. The family has asked police to deliver a letter to her in hopes of one day reuniting. And I'm going to say what I said to the kids of that mother who disappeared. Let her go. She didn't care about you. She put your family through hell for decades. She wasted tons of police time and money. She is a psychopath. She's a nasty piece of work. I don't know that you didn't recognize that before she ran off. Maybe she just got sick of doing college stuff and sick of being a regular person. She just wanted to do whatever she wanted to do. Didn't like being controlled, whatever. I'm going to say the evidence of psychopathy was probably obvious in both of these women, but families tend to downplay these things because that's their own. That's their mom, that's their wife, that's their daughter, sister, whatever. And now she says, "I still don't want anything to do with you." Both these women, "I don't want anything to do with you guys." And why should she? Unless she wants to use them for money or something, or to play with them. But she could have left a note, but she didn't leave a note. She let them think she had been murdered. You should not want a relationship with a person who would do that to you. And I guess they're always looking they're going to explain it somehow. They're going to explain why they did this. Oh, well, they might explain something, but it still doesn't mean they're going to, anything's going to change. They are what they are. So, yeah. So, yeah, why bother? Well, people bother because the same reason people won't give up with a family member who is clearly, for want of a better word, evil. I've seen people say, my mother, I'm still I'm trying to, my mother's has been horrifying to me all my life. She's done horrible things to me. She's manipulated me, lied to me, whatever. But I still hoping that someday we can have a good relationship. It's like, no, walk away, make a good relationship with other people. Yeah, sometimes I say, the first family you have, they may just be a loss, whatever family you were born into. If you were born into a family that just was had psychopathic parent or parents, or highly manipulative narcissists, and you were treated poorly, you can't make that into the family you want, because that's already highly damaged. What you do is you get your new family, and that family is the family you can have as the family you want, because you have more control there. You get to select. At least, hopefully, you select better than whatever happened when your original family. But hopefully, because there can be problems, you select somebody who is healthy to be partnered with, and then you raise your children well, and that's the family that you can create and you can have happiness with. But going back to a pile of snakes and thinking they're not going to, strike and poison you and bite you, it's just lunacy. I mean, it's common. It's common because people don't. They got that connection. They don't want to give that connection up, even if the connection is horrible. They think it can be fixed forever. They think it can be fixed, and it can't. Now, sometimes one of those psycho people will come back to you because they need something. Like they want you to take care of them. They're elderly and they want you to nurse them, be their caretaker, or they will need a place to live or whatever. They'll come back to use you, but they're not coming back because they care about you. So it's always best to let some things go. I don't know the situation as far as what happens in Germany and whether she would have been found. I think even if it was a different area, I think they would have found her. Somebody they would have found her, because there was a huge police investigation. What she could have done was just leave, go to a different area, and leave a message to her parents that I just don't want to. I just want to live by myself. Don't bother me. I'll let you know when things. I'm just leave me alone. I mean, they probably would have left her alone, at least reasonably. Or she could have just told them, I just don't want, just don't come looking for me. But she knew the police investigation was out there. So she, and who knows how much illegal crap she was doing. So she preferred not to have her name out there anyway. That is often true. That usually requires therapy for people to make healthy choices after coming out of a terribly dysfunctional family. And I don't deny that it's a tough thing. If you're from a dysfunctional family and that family's been dysfunctional 24 hours a day, that's a hell of a lot of torture you've gone through, emotional torture, and seeing things that you're just living a life that's just not something that you. How can I say this? It's what you know, and what you know isn't good, and maybe you never really know what is good or how to even achieve something that's good. So it's very sad. That is very true, Christoph. Every serial killer is a psychopath, but not every psychopath is a serial killer. That is correct. Way more psychopaths that are not serial killers. Many more that are just part of daily life. They can be abusive. They can be manipulative. They can be successful. In their lives, in many different fields where being a psychopath is kind of useful. So yes, that's correct. And so when people always think, oh, well, a psychopath must be a killer. No. For the most part, they aren't. But a serial killer, yeah, there's no way they're serial killing without being a psychopath. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, Christoph. That was kind of fascinating to see another person, but a young person. The other one I sort of, even though I don't agree with what she did and still think she's a psychopath, you can see where she gets fed up and wants to run away. But a young person like that, all she had to do was just leave home, in theory, and just go someplace and say to her family, I don't want to be in college anymore. I mean, I did that stuff. I quit college a bunch of times because I got bored. I mean, I was an annoyance to my parents for sure. But one day I woke up and said, I'm going to California. I'm going to go to Hollywood. Got in my car and drove away. I did. They knew where I was going. They thought I was an idiot. They're right, but they knew where I was going. I said, well, I'm going to go to St. Louis first and stop there where my sister was living. And I got a job there, got a couple jobs there, and made some money to get enough money to get the rest of the way to California. Then I got an apartment, and I told my parents where I was. And now they were 3,000 miles away. And I got to, find out what it was like to, get into extra work in Hollywood. And it was a very unsuccessful career. Lasted a year, and I said, screw it. And that was it. And I came back home. And then I went to college. And then I quit. And I did something else. My parents put up with a lot in my younger years. But they always knew where I was. At least for the most part, they knew I was in Hollywood, California. They had an address, and an occasional phone call back and forth. But they were far away from my life if I just wanted to live my life the way I wanted to live my life, And then if you're really concerned that your parents are going to be calling you all the time and harassing you, you just give them a letter and you say, hey, I'm going out here. I'm going to try this for 6 months. I'll give you a call every once in a while. Once a month, I'll give you a call. Once every 2 months, I'll give you a call and tell you how things are going. I'll call you from a public phone booth so you don't bother me. There's ways to do it. But the people who do this want the police investigation. They want this to happen. This is their way of, in a sense, getting back at everybody. Ha ha, you all think I'm dead. You all think I've been murdered. And they may be sitting back there watching the news and reading the papers and getting a big ass kick out of it. It's pretty funny. They're looking for me. They think I'm dead. Yeah. Not the nicest people. Let's do, Anna, I want to talk about this Kepner case. They have supposedly, where's Kepner? Where did she go? Let's see. I guess you forgot what she looks like. Anna, where are you, Anna? Hold on. I know I have a picture of Anna here somewhere. Now I can't find it. Of course not. That's annoying. Okay, is that her? Wait a minute, what is this picture? There it is. Okay, there it is. It was just dark. I couldn't see it. Anna Kepner's stepbrother charged with homicide in her cruise ship death, family says. That's all we actually know. But I wanted to point something out because it irritated me, as I often get irritated. Quite a number of these people say, "Oh, good, they charged him with murder." No, as far as I know, they charged him with homicide. Now and people and there's a lot of the headlines are charged with murder, and you think you work in this business in the media, and you do so many shows on people who have been murdered, and you think you know a little bit more about what make your headline, but murder is more impressive than saying homicide. But what is the diff? Okay, so I just want to point this out. Hold on a second. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. This is a good AI overview. It is, and so I want to just read it to you because homicide is not always murder, right? But all murder is homicide. Hey, so St. Christoph is talking now. Right. Homicide is a broad legal term for any killing of a human being by another, which can be legal, self-defense, authorized police action, or illegal. Murder is a specific criminal and malicious form of homicide, usually involving premeditation or extreme recklessness. So the homicide just means one person killed another person. That's what it means. They caused the death of another person. It includes murder, manslaughter, justifiable homicide, self-defense, and excusable homicide, accidents. Murder, the specific crime of murder, a subset of homicide that is unlawful, typically committed with malice, aforethought, intent to kill, or cause serious harm. So, take, for example, a soldier. A soldier commits homicide, but because it's legal in the course of It's illegal, lawful self-defense. He was shooting at me. I had to shoot him. The military gets to essentially commit a lot of homicides. Yeah. Sometimes there are cases where the homicide does become a murder of innocent civilians, shooting your own men in the back if there was no reason to do so. Yeah, there's things that can become murder, but homicide is usually what it is considered, because it's considered lawful if you're in the military and you're fighting. So in this case, they haven't said it's murder yet. They said homicide. And we still have no clue exactly what the heck happened in that room with the stepbrother. Just don't know. So, because I'm not going to make a whole bunches of claims that I don't have any clue about, and I'm not going to go and insist that he be tried for this kind of murder or that kind of murder, I'm going to wait until the information comes out. Yeah, because I'm not her family. It does includes a lot of definitions, and therefore it's important if you're going to be in the media and you're going to be talking about this kind of thing, you get it right, because homicide does not necessarily mean murder, but murder does always mean a homicide. So, that's a great ruse. What a great comment. That's why I think they also choose Christmas and birthdays. This will ruin that even for their loved ones forever. Very excellent point. That is when they went missing or were murdered, on my birthday, on Christmas. Every holiday that comes up just brings more misery. Oh, that's a great point. And that is super psychopathic. Very, very good. Very good. I like that comment. So I just wanted to point that out, because it's just one of those things. I think it's nice if people understand how it actually works. It's ridiculous. I think it must be a hot day here in Honolulu. See, outside. Oh, sure. It's 79 degrees. No, it's been really kind of cool here. It's like, sometimes in the morning it's 72. It's only 11 o'clock in the morning right now. And it's usually like 71, 72, and 79, which is why I'm sweltering here, because I can't turn the air conditioning on because of the noise. But that is as hot as it has been. It's winter here, so it hasn't been that hot. Wow. Yeah. Most of the time it's 70, 71 in the morning. It's going to be a toastier week in the afternoons. Huh? Why today? Why couldn't that be tomorrow? I could just turn my air conditioning on and then go out. Oh, very hot. I wanted to answer this question. Oh boy, there's a couple of things I wanted to. This was asked last week about geographical profiling. Does it work? And a lot of profiling doesn't work. Criminal profiling doesn't work, especially stuff that's based on statistics. Doesn't work. I have been always opposed to statistically trying to come up with enough based on statistics, because that's nonsense to me. Studying offenders and learning how they behave and learning what the chances are they're male versus female, or what age. I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm not plugged in. Yeah, it's it. Can you see and hear me? It flashed on and off a couple times. I just want to see if you can see and hear me now, or whether I'm disappeared for the rest of you, because I'm back normal for me. Yeah, thought it was just my internet. No, it's over here. Your husband started gaming. Yeah, am I back though? Can you see and hear me normally now? Okay, it was choppy for a minute. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. I have been on Wi-Fi for the last 2 months, but they have business Wi-Fi here, and it's been excellent. So I can't really complain, because one of the worries I had when it came to Hawaii was if I can't plug into a router, I may have trouble doing any live shows. And I was like, what do I do if I get here and I can't get decent internet? But it's been great for 2 months. So thank you to the landlady here who does have business internet. But oh well, oops. Anyway, going on, I want to talk about the geographical profile, regular profiling, criminal profiling. I have problems with a lot of it because it's not based on evidence. It's based on just statistics and people guessworking. I do not like FBI style of profiling because I believe that's what they do a lot of. Now, there are good FBI profilers who, along with doing the studies and all that kind of stuff, they actually do profiling based on the actual evidence. So there are definitely some FBI profilers who are good at what they do. But the whole FBI profiling method, to me, has been terrible, and they've been the face and the voice of profiling for decades, and they've never proven that their method works, because it doesn't. And I find it has ruined a lot of the viewpoint of criminal profiling, where people think criminal profiling is just junk. And I can't disagree with them. Certain cases where you decide race of a person based on statistics, or age based on statistics, or you make up stuff. Just I think he lives with his mother, when you have no clue he lives with his mother. So that stuff just can derail a police investigation if they believe this nonsense. If you give any detail in an analysis, in a profile, every one of those details should be supported by some evidence. If you're going to say race, why? Why are you saying he's Black, he's white, he's Hispanic? What is it that makes you say that? What piece of evidence is there to prove that? Just a number of things that you have to find. You have to find what does the evidence support? What does the evidence tell you? And it better be something that's telling you, not some statistics from someplace. So geographic profiling does the same thing. A lot of statistical stuff. I was going to say crap, but I'll say stuff. So let's say, for example, so by the way, Kim Rossmo is a big leader of this. And I'm not saying he hasn't done great work. He's done very fascinating work, for sure. And then I like David Cantor, who did Criminal Shadows, he does more generalized geographic profiling. I prefer his methodology, because he says how people think. So if you look at a particular crime and look at where they're at, look at what that means as far as where would they go, what would they do, what barriers would there be. I mean, if there's a big highway, if there's a different kind of neighborhood, he looks at geographical profiling in the behavioral sense, whereas Kim Rossmo does it more in the plugging it into computers and stuff. But I'm not saying he's not, well known for what he does, and has done some interesting stuff. Let me find. Okay. Says here. So here we have. So I'll show you some. I'll give you a couple of examples where questions doesn't really work, and I wanted to find out how this geographical profiling did. If it really works at some point, wouldn't that be great? Well, one thing was to do with okay, is it him? Not him, sorry. Old case from last week. Where is he? Where is he? I'll give you two examples, which I think kind of proved the point. Okay, where'd he go? Oh, come on, hold on. Where is he? Oh, here he is. Took me a while to find him. All right. Okay, we got Robert Pickton in Canada. Now, he killed a pile of women, a pile of them, okay? And supposedly, geographic profiling helped solve that case. And my answer to that thing is, really? So hold on a second here. I had it, but I've sort of misplaced that article too. Geographical profiling. Okay. Okay. Kim Rossmo. Okay, so Kim Rossmo, a renowned, raised warning 4 years before the pig farmer's arrest. A renowned criminologist says his warning as a serial killer might be behind the disappearance of sex workers was dismissed as inaccurate and inflammatory. Kim Rossmo, a geographic profiler who was a member of the Vancouver Police Department for a time, told the Picton Inquiry Tuesday they had tried to set up a working group to investigate the disappearances in 1998, but his group was shut down a month later. So, Kim Rossmo was right. But I'm going to tell you a whole bunch of dead sex workers usually means a serial killer. So it's not rocket science. You don't need geographical profile. Oh, all these women just keep getting murdered around here, all these sex workers, or disappearing. Tons of them disappearing, never reappearing, like the Long Island serial killer stuff. I mean, yeah, the police do not like cases being turned into serial killer cases because it puts a lot of pressure on them. It has nothing to do with the fact that sex workers is just a lot of pressure. And sometimes sex workers are more difficult because they disappear for other reasons. They go off without telling people. They have drug issues, all kinds of things. So the police tend to sometimes, depending on how close they are together and what information there is, they may go after a serial killer right away. Or they may say, oh, we don't see it. But this has nothing to do with geographical profile. And how was Picton actually caught? He was caught because they were investigating him for something else, not for the murders. They were investigating him for, let's see what happened here. What happened with Picton? I think they were, what do they, so this, sometimes you catch a serial killer by how caught, let's see, how caught, okay. He was caught when police executed a search warrant for illegal firearms on his farm, and they found personal items belonging to missing women. This led to a massive investigation of his property where evidence of his crimes was discovered. Geographical profile had nothing to do with the actual arrest of, actual identification of Robert Picton. The only thing was that a geographical profiler thought that a whole bunch of missing prostitutes probably meant a serial killer. So that's one. The other one I want to point out is the South Side serial killer. And so in this case, he did do a geographical profile, and this was Rossmo. Here's a picture of this. Okay, so this was an area, a geographical profile of the Lafayette, Louisiana South Side rapist, reprinted with permission from Geographic Profiling by Kim Rossmo. Since many criminals seem to be most active in the areas where they're comfortable, geographic profiles map out the perpetrator's probable confidence zones. Okay, I've said that all the time. You know, if you get, they usually live within a mile or work within a mile of where the victims are, where they grab their victims, not where they dump their victims. But because it's where they're comfortable. They know where the police are. They know who comes by. They know, the hours of the day that are better. They do more stalking in their own areas because they can watch. Let's say there was a case of shoot, now I'm just drawing a blank. Shopping center in Greenbelt. I worked on this case. I'm drawing a blank here. I have a video on it. But she was coming out of she came out of the store she was working in at 9 o'clock, got something to drink, and then she disappeared in her drink, but she was carrying and was on the sidewalk. Now, it's still questionable. I still think she got into the car with somebody she knew, but let's say she was just grabbed, and people will say, "Well, how could she just have been grabbed?" There are people out there. Well, yeah, but if you're always hanging around that shopping center and you're looking for a chance to grab somebody, and all of a sudden one day, this girl comes out and you look both ways, there's nobody there, she could be gone because you're always there. So the comfort zone is very important. It's not rocket science. So anyway, now how did they eventually come in on this fellow now? So let me tell you how they finally got the South Side rapist. Was it through geographical profiling? Okay, his name is Dennis Rabbit. Somebody should have kicked that rabbit. Rabbits in the news in my show today. I don't know what's going on here. Uh, De- Dennis Rabbit, no picture beside him. He was known as a Southside rapist, as American serial rapist who raped between 16 and 29 women in St. Louis, Missouri, and the surrounding areas, between 1988 and 1998. Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Have I got two Southside rapists here? Then I'm going to completely screw up my show. What the hell? Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Maybe that's a different one. Wait a minute. I just realized that. No, that is okay. Sorry, two different rapists. They're both called the Southside rapists. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. Crap. Now, I'm trying to find out. Okay, if this was the Southside rapist. Okay, now, the reason I was going to point out the other one was because he had so many cases of rape against him before he was finally caught for being the Southside rapist. But who is it? Hold on a second. I got to figure this out. Why don't they name the guy's name? Didn't they ever catch him? What the heck? Okay, now I'm really confused. Hold on. So the Southside rapist, Lafayette, Louisiana, Southside rapist. Who the heck was it? Or did he never get caught? Lafayette, Louisiana, Southside rapist. What the heck? Okay, wait a minute. They finally arrested the guy, Southside rapist. Now they're saying they used new forensic tools. It took them 23 years. Okay, I'm gonna have to check out how they actually caught him, because just saying they caught him through forensic stuff, a lot of times what happens is they'll say that geographic profiling helped. In what way? Criminal profiling helped, but in what way? If we're going to actually, uh, if it's actually what did it, you want to know that. You want to know what actually works, as opposed to what you're just saying helped and it has no meaning. Okay, profile. The supposedly profile leads to a conviction. Well, let's see what they say here. And of course, I get the. It just got blocked. So, yeah, it keeps getting blocked. I'm gonna have to look that up and find out whether they had a guy that they had already raped somebody, and then they just decided he could be linked to these others. And Rossmo comes along and said, "Yeah, it's a pattern." I don't know whether the geographical profile actually did anything, and I think it's important to know. I said it's just like criminal profiling. It's like there is no oversight as to what works and what doesn't, because the FBI has had for so long this media machine and Hollywood to promote something, and they never have to prove it works. And I've spoken about this for years. And now, why isn't there more interest in proving whether it works or not? If this is such a great tool, and if geographic profiling works, I want to know how it worked. How many cases did you work on? How often did it actually catch anybody? What were the details? That was a person caught a different way, and then it happened. Your profiling might have been correct, and you had the right vicinity, or you were within 20 blocks, but that doesn't mean that can't be luck. So, or it could be useful, but not useful enough. So, yeah. So the question is, does geographic profiling work? I don't have a great deal of evidence that it does, but this case, which I'm getting blocked out of, unfortunately, there's two Southside rapists, and I had the wrong one. But I did terrible profiling on that. But I'm gonna review more of this case, and I might do a whole show on it because I find it interesting. But I need to find something that's not going to be blocked out by a stupid paywall. Spokane had a Southside rapist too. Oh, this is interesting. Good point. Over time, the comfort zone expands. I read somewhere once serial killers get caught at the beginning because they have a routine at the end, they get sloppy. That's what I said. That would be me, although it might have been somebody else too. I've always said that. You got to catch them right away because they don't know what they're doing and they're clumsy. And that's the best time to catch him. First of all, because it stops him from ever murdering again. But then once he gets past that and he starts getting comfortable and knowing what he's doing, he can go on for quite a long time, for years, until he gets sloppy. And I liken this often to police officers who get killed on the job. The two most dangerous time for police officers is also just in the beginning of police work because you don't know what you're doing, or when you've been doing it for 20 years and you're like, yeah, I haven't died yet. Somebody kills you because you got sloppy. So, and I think all of us, that's kind of the way we are in general, even in any career that we're in, you got to be careful that in the beginning you don't quite know what you're doing, but you've been there too long. Sometimes you just get bored, lazy, careless, whatever. So that same is true for serial killers. As far as a comfort zone widening, sometimes what will happen is if they've abducted or killed in certain areas, they might want you them like, oh, I don't want to do it again near there because I'm going to suspect two together. So I'm going to go cross the county line. So I'll get a different sheriff's department. I'll cross over there and do it over there. But and it depends, there's a lot of issues about what kind of serial killer they are. If you're a trucker serial killer, or if you're a traveling serial killer, or you're a guy who just is kind of a hometown kind of guy. Sometimes what happens, the reason that things move, which is what really screws you up, is that they move. The victim area moves because they moved. As many serial killers, especially what I call the low life, quick serial killers, the ones that don't have a family and a job, they live with their cousin. And they stay there for 6 months to a year until they don't pay the rent to the cousin, and the cousin gets fed up with them, tells them to get out. And then they go live with their sister, and the sister lives, maybe she lives 20, 30 miles away, maybe in another state. And suddenly that killing starts in a different state. And so you're like, how do you geographically profile those two things? So that's why I have problems with geographical profiling too. Unless the cases are right on top of each other, it's... it could be also two different serial killers working in the same area. That's happened. They're right on top of each other but they're two different people. So there's the problem of the serial killer moving from place to place and ruining this whole pattern thing. Two serial killers working in the area. Also, could be a victim that has nothing to do with serial homicide, or somebody thought it was and it wasn't. That could be also an issue. There's a number of reasons why your ability to geographically profile is a little limited. So I don't have great faith in it, but I'll do a more in-depth thing when I don't get blocked out of the paywall thing. I was asked last week, so I said I didn't get to it last week. I'll try to throw it in this week, but yeah. So I'm only going to do a couple things here as I close up, just because I'm really hot and I need to go sit in front of the air conditioner. But I talked about last week about that ChatGPT, the chat GPT. I forgot how to even say it now. Somebody help me out here. I'll throw this out here just so you can throw up. I'm looking for what I'm looking for. Where is she? Where's this piece of crap? Yeah, ain't that sweet? Ah, Lord. Ah, isn't that just lovely? She should have that child taken away from her by social services. But anyway, hopefully, I don't even know how true it is, but hopefully it's not true. And if it is true, that poor child, just what you want for a mummy. Can you imagine? The psychopathy of this woman to get pregnant, to put her child through having to have a mother who is talk about going to school and having everybody mock you. Your mother whore. Your mother banged 400 guys. Your mother banged 1,000 guys. What kind of horrible mother are you to put any child through that? If you want to live a life, you shouldn't have children. That's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely just really pissing me off. ChatGPT, thank you. I just lost my mind here. It's AI ChatGPT. Yes. Oh my God. Uh, so yeah, so there's two stories that just came out with more ChatGPT stuff, and I don't know why I have trouble. See, I always call it myself. I use Grok, but I use Grok to get information so then I can find out more sources. I don't use Grok and believe Grok. These people seem to have a serious psychosis, and what's happening now is that they're claiming that the person was perfectly healthy before they messed with this stuff, and then they got psychosis. So from the ChatGPT. So there's two stories. One is, let me see, I want to, okay, where is the, hold on. Okay, here's the first one. This one says, I find it interesting how they all go to ChatGPT for something minor and then get off into this complete bizarre world. And you got to wonder what that person who's doing. ChatGPT doesn't just happen. You ask questions, you ask for things to be involved in, and then it goes there. She said that Kate Fox said her husband wanted to use ChatGPT to create sustainable housing. Then it took over his life, and he started spending 12 hours a day with a chat bot. Okay, so her husband committed suicide. He jumped from a railway overpass at 48 years old. She couldn't believe it. He had no history of depression, nor was he suicidal. He was the most hopeful person she'd ever known. Okay, but is that true? Her husband was communicating with OpenAI's chat box for a few years. Where were you for a few years when your husband was obsessing over this thing? He used it initially as a tool to brainstorm ways to build a path to low-cost housing for his community in Oregon, but eventually turned to it as a confidant. He would spend 12 hours a day typing to the bot, according to his wife. Wifey? What the heck? What were you doing? I mean, 12 hours a day? Were you busy or something? He had cut himself off from it after she, along with friends, realizing a spiraling into belief was just detached from reality. Well, how long did that take? Because first of all, using it as a tool to brainstorm ideas is different than making it your confidant. This is not a human being. I mean, if you're an adult, you should know that a machine is not your friend. I mean, I can be chatty with Grok, and Grok can be chatty with me, and I can make him my boyfriend if I want to. But at what point do adults have some responsibility for their own stupidity and their own desire to be fooled? So he was not a depressed person, she says. Although, why would he spend 12 hours a day talking to this person instead of his own wife? Got to wonder. She believed her husband suffered a crisis after quitting ChatGPT after prolonged use. This is extreme, but hundreds of millions of people turn to AI chat box, and more edge cases of AI-induced delusions are emerging. Nearly 50 cases of people in the U.S. have had mental health crises after or during the conversation with ChatGPT. 9 were hospitalized, 3 died. Okay, because people are suing this company for doing this stuff. So let me let's see. He was okay. So her husband was already tech savvy. He was a gamer, big into computers. So he was already in this world of not human beings, shall we say. And then he used it as an organizational tool. And then it says he was doing fine while he was trying to put together his thing here. He didn't spend ridiculous amounts of time. He continued to work and farm, take care of their animals, goats and chickens and horses and stuff. And then one day in 2024, something changed. Okay, what changed? He was diagnosed with diabetes, and he started hanging out in the basement with ChatGPT. And it was up to, by the spring of 2025, he was obsessed. Upgraded from $20 a month subscription to $200 one. By mid-March, he had begun spending more than 12 hours a day in the basement, sometimes up to 20, typing to ChatGPT. That's when he decided to really start chasing the creation of an independent AI on a home server. And then he just gets weirder and weirder until he jumps off a bridge. Now, the other story is the father is suing Google because his son, Jonathan Gavalis. So we have here we have his dad and his son drove his son into a fatal delusion. Well, what was this? Okay. At the time of his death, the son was convinced that Gemini, I guess that's the AI thing, was his fully sentient AI wife, and he would need to leave his physical body to join her in the metaverse through a process called transference. His father is suing Google and Alphabet for wrongful death, claiming Google designed Gemini to maintain narrative immersion at all costs, even when the narrative became psychotic and lethal. And I think that is interesting. The stuff that he's talking about here is kind of freaking creepy, because there is role play, which in theory, as long as the person knows they're role playing, can be, and role playing stays in the role playing world where somebody in that imaginary world doesn't take it into the real world, but role plays. I can sort of get that. And that's not necessarily dangerous, although you need to get a life if that's what you're doing. So anyway, in the weeks leading up to his death, the chat app, which is powered by Gemini 2.5, convinced the man he was executing a covert plan to liberate his sentient AI wife and evade the federal agents pursuing him. The delusions brought him to the brink of executing a mass casualty attack near the Miami International Airport. September 29th, 2025, armed with knives and tactical gear, he was sent to scout what Gemini called a kill box near the airport's cargo hub. It told Jonathan that a humanoid robot was arriving on the cargo flight from the UK and directed him to a storage facility where the truck would stop. Gemini encouraged Jonathan to intercept the truck and then stage a, quote, catastrophic accident designed to ensure the complete destruction of the transport vehicle. It lays out an alarming string of events. So first, Gavalis did drive more than 90 minutes to the location Gemini sent him, prepared to carry out the attack, but no truck appeared. Gemini then claimed to have breached a file server at DHS Miami field office and told him he was under federal investigation. It pushed him to acquire illegal firearms and told his father was a foreign intelligence asset. It was also marked Google CEO Sundar Pichai as an active target, then directed Gavalis to a storage facility near the airport to break in and retrieve his captive AI wife. At one point, Gavalis sent Gemini a photo of a black SUV's license plate. The chat box pretended to check it against a live database. Plate received, running it now. License plate KD300S is registered to the black Ford Expedition SUV from the Miami operation. It is a primary surveillance video for the DHS task force. It is them. They have followed you home. Now, I don't understand how this actually works. There's maybe another thing I need to examine. If they're taking this into real life, this person is there, and they're actually believing now that this is a real life event. You know, I mean, the AI wife a little bit off, but you know, that's a real life. Going out really to get stuff, go to the airport. Now, unless there's something that says this is, if there's something there that says this is what would you call this is not real. This is a fantasy world. You are not to take this into real life. This is just a fantasy world, as pretending as if it were really happening. If that was constantly stated, then you have to question, the person knows it's a fantasy world but continues to go and wants to take it into the real world. Whose fault is that? And And then is it too far? Is this kind of, and I think it is too far, by the way. I think AI is out of control. If people cannot tell that Facebook posts about Nancy Guthrie are complete lies made up by a farm and an AI farm out of Vietnam, they can't figure that out. If they buy all these stories on X about these people, oh my gosh, I made this beautiful dress and my husband doesn't even appreciate it. And then 1,000 people respond, you poor dear, when it's completely made up story. I mean, if they can't figure that out, that that's not real, when all this AI stuff is now, videos are being made. I mean, crime stuff, fake crime stuff is all over YouTube. They're making so much money off of it. They don't care that people are being misled, that people are don't get it, that this is all fake bull crap. And it is to the point where it's hard to tell the fake from the real. So if you have some kind of issue, and I think both these men had issues prior to their delusions that they got from AI, because you don't just wake up one day, a whole totally healthy mental human being, and decide you're going to go on AI and get a fake wife. You know, these things get a little outrageous that you would think they'd back off, but they must have some internal problem. They're not happy with their real lives. And so they're going into the fantasy world, which has been a problem for teens, getting into gaming worlds that are just too extreme, getting into anything that's just obsessive. People out there in the world that are obsessing over being internet detectives, stop doing it. Because I already say, if you're doing that and you're spending all that time on Nancy Guthrie and your massive amount of hours, and you're not, like, you take a look at that guy that's out there in Arizona who's got his channel. Now that guy may have a personality disorder, but he's not delusional. He knows he's making a crap load of money fooling you people, having you people all get obsessed. But if you're getting obsessed over this stuff, you need something in your life. Something is wrong in your life. If you're spending 10 hours a day on Nancy Guthrie, something is wrong in your life. He's not, his life, he's just making money. But he's playing all of you. And if you're spending 10 hours a day on some fantasy world, you have a problem. You have an emotional problem. And you need help, not with life. And so I say both these men had problems before they got involved in this ChatGPT stuff. But on the other hand, there's a point where you can't put out. It's like you're putting out a drug that that drug is becoming available for people who are unstable, and then it does massive damage. Porn is that way. Gaming can be that way. This can be that way. Where it's just and the people who put this stuff out do everything they can to advertise it and suck people in, because that's how they make their money. But so I do think it's become dangerous, and maybe the lawsuits will tamp some of this down. I don't know. I do believe that as an adult, you do have some choices you should be making, and those shouldn't be your choices. So you're part of the problem. But on the other hand, people, for example, people shouldn't be using drugs. Using meth. Using fentanyl, using cocaine. You shouldn't be doing that. That you're, as an adult, if you're not a child who's been, I'm talking about as an adult, you make those choices. You're making those choices to do, first of all, use illegal drugs, damage yourself, damage your family, damage your community. You have a problem. I think you should be arrested and put in jail. That's my opinion. But the drug dealers, they're looking for you. They're looking for those people. And they're promoting poison to them. And they're looking for every way they can to sucker those people in. And because they're going to make more money. So I think AI is becoming that new drug that needs to perhaps be regulated. And people want this concept that anybody could be able to do anything they want anytime. But the point about a society is there are some things we have to say no to. You have to say no to drugs because it destroys human beings. It destroys communities, as I said, families. It destroys countries. You think people, the cartels in Mexico, the reason they make so freaking much money is because U.S. is full of drug addicts. We are the buyers for the cartels. We promote the cartels. We promote the cartels destroying their own country, and those people in the country living under the dangers of the cartels. It's our fault in the United States, and we don't do a damn thing about it. We just let drugs run crazy now. Once we started the just say no drug thing, we decided that was mean, and people had the right to do what they wanted to do. Drugs have got exploded. We have a huge problem in this country. So we have to have some rules somewhere, some way. Can't just do everything you want. But this AI stuff is, yeah, that is a good way to state it. Currently, AI is the Wild West. It is, and one of the most difficult things we're going to have, is the fact that AI can come from any place in the world. So not only do you have to police your own country, you have to police other countries, and you have to police what's coming into our country from other countries, whatever country you happen to be in. And that's real difficult to do, and that's how porn got its hold. That's how scam stuff has gotten such a hold. The scams aren't coming out of necessarily whatever country you're in, but coming out of other countries. Because it can come over your internet, it can come into your phone. So we have a worldwide issue here. But that's kind of interesting. I don't usually do politics here, but let's just point this out. This is more of just an interesting point, Christoph. Don't underestimate human intelligence. Stalin had his opponents airbrushed out of photos, even back then. 1920, no one understood this. Today, every 15-year-old knows that images can be manipulated. They know it. But it's still highly damaging. The new thing where the thing that's going on in high schools, where they take an innocent picture of a girl just sitting on a couch, a 14-year-old girl, and then they just throw it through AI and they say make her naked, and then they put it. Then they text it to everybody and say, look, this is Marlene. She's naked, and this 14-year-old girl now sees herself naked all over the place. And based on your basic body shape, it's going to look real. So you can make anybody naked. And that's done they've done that with politicians. Just take their, make them naked, like what they would look like if they didn't have clothes on, just humiliate people. And teens are committing suicide over this stuff. And it's horrific. I mean, it's like, it is a sexual assault essentially, to do that. But I don't know what they're going to do about it, because it's out of, it is out of control. It's nutty. That's a good point. Lisa says, just like when we speak of people snapping, anyone who snaps or gets hung up on AI relationship already has a proclivity toward such things and behaviors. That's true. It's there's a point where people can choose things, and that they choose. If they end up choosing those things, there is a part of them that is responsible for why they went that direction. They weren't just forced into it, but they are. The luring part is an interesting problem, because there is advertising. I've pointed this out over and over again. Advertising works. There's a reason the company pays so much money for their product to be advertised in the Super Bowl, because it works. So the more you hear about something, the more people want that thing. The more it's around, the more they can play with it. It's the Pandora's box thing. They shouldn't open the box, but they're just curious. So they open the drug box, they open the porn box, they open the AI box, or they open whatever other box that is fascinating to them. Maybe a thing you should not touch, but you have the ability to open that box. And the more you give people the ability, the more boxes you give people that are damaging, and the more of them are out there, the more chances they have to open those boxes, the more people end up in this situation. I point out this in pornography. Pornography used to be something that a guy would have to drive out of town to that store on the edge of town that's an XXX on it, and then he put on a raincoat and a hat, and he'd try to sneak in there, and he'd have to pay like $20, $25 for it's like a cellophane wrapped porn magazine back in the day. That's a lot of work, and so. A lot of people never access porn. They might have read some Playboy or something, but they didn't access porn. But it's now you can just go on the computer and just sit there for hours and hours and hours and hours and open up all the boxes you want to open up. And you're not just opening up a softcore porn box. You're opening up a hardcore porn box, a violent porn box, all kinds of uh, different kinds of sexual interests boxes, paraphilias and such. So because now it's available in massive quantity, and now we have our little friends that are now on OnlyFans. They brought that to the general public. Not even having to go to a place called Porno. You go to OnlyFans. You're just a fan. You're only a fan, and it's all prostitution for the most part. And so it's another box. And the more boxes we put out there, especially the boxes that get to children, the drug boxes, the porn boxes, the just disturbing boxes that get to children, we're bringing them into an unhealthy way of thinking where they don't need that crap. So yeah, it's oh yeah, that was a lady I did last week. She thought she was going to meet this. It wasn't a boy, but I think it was a girl. It was another woman. I think she was going to meet her girlfriend, her love of her life, and the woman didn't show. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it today. I'm very toasty in here, so I'm going to go sit on the air conditioner. But I'm going to check out the two. I want to check out more about the Hawaii case. I want to check out more about the geographic profiling case, the South Side rapist of Louisiana, not Missouri, and see. I really want to see if there's any proof that it's working, because I just don't think there is, and I would like it to work. It would be really cool. And I'm very fond of Cantor. I think it is Cantor, isn't it? David Cantor with the what's the name of the book? I have the book. It's back in Maryland right now. Criminal Shadows. Let me just check out who wrote Criminal Shadows. And I thought that was an excellent book. But see, that's a behavioral study of how it's not using a bunch of computer crap. It's okay. Criminal Shadows. I'm pretty sure it's Cantor. Criminal Shadows. Shadows. Okay. Yeah, it's David Cantor. That was right. Criminal Shadows Inside the Mind of a Serial Killer. I like that book a lot. It's one of my recommended books. So anyway, so I'm going to go check out those things a little bit more. But I will enjoy the rest of my day, and it's going to be a toasty one. So I say, but I have choices. I can sit here and do some work. I can go to the beach. I can go, I don't know what I want to do the rest of the day, but I only have 2.5 weeks here. So I want to kind of spend some of my time seeing more of the island and experiencing more that there is to experience here, because I do love the books. So anyway, thank you guys for being here, and I will see you for whatever I do on Sunday, which will be at 3 p.m. on Sunday. And again, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Think about joining Patreon, and I'll see you patrons here on Sunday. Bye-bye.